Good morning, everyone. Daryl and I are making cheddar cheese today. This is raw whole milk from the farm. You can see it's got some cream hanging in there. We did try to get some of the cream off, but can't get it all. They say cheese is, when you make cheese, you're just kind of wasting the cream, so we drained off what we could. And this pan outside is a double boiler that's going to be heating up the milk inside, and the milk needs to reach to 80 degrees. Well, no, sorry, 90 degrees. Yes, 90 degrees. 80 would do fine, but 90 degrees is what most of them recommend. There is also 89 degrees, 102 degrees, but we're going to stick with the one that goes to 90 degrees because we're following her recipe for this particular type of cheese. Okay, now, so I can let you know what ingredients we have. We have an animal rennet, okay, that coagulates the milk. We have 2 different culture starters for the different types of cheeses. You can see they have hard cheeses on the pictures. So we are actually just making a regular cheddar cheese or farmhouse cheese. This here is the butter that we will be using to coat it once it is completely done, and we will wrap it in cheesecloth. It helps with the mold. And we are using kosher salt. Now these here are presses. Once we get the milk to coagulate, we will put the curds in these presses to drain out all the way. And it'll go on top like that, and then we will set heavy weights on top of it. And that will help to dry out the cheese faster and to get it all firmed up. We also have a thermometer that we'll be using to check the temperature. It's a candy thermometer. They say any thermometer will work as long as it goes up to like 280, and my candy thermometer does way beyond that. So anyway, this is the starting of our cheddar cheese processing, and we'll see how it goes. We'll come back to you later. Okay, now Daryl stirs in the rennet. And he's got to stir it in there really good. It's been sitting for about 90 minutes per instructions. And now he's just mixing that up, and now we have to let it set for 45 minutes. And we'll be back as soon as it's done. Okay, so here we are. We are now at the point where we are checking for the coagulation, and everything looks fine. Now we will make cuts approximately a 1/2 inch to 1 inch going in one direction. And now we'll go back into the other direction, trying to make them small, because what we're doing to do the process of cutting is it is breaking up the curd so that we can get the whey out of it. And the more you cut it, the more whey will be released. And since this is a cheddar cheese, which is a hard cheese, it will need to try to get as much of the whey out as possible. And now he's going towards at an angle so that he can cut in the other direction and going all the way down to the bottom. And now he's reversing. And the curds are really looking good at this moment. It's coming around the other side. Okay, that looks really good. Now he's going to take the slotted spoon, or the holy spoon. The holy spoon. Must have got it from church. No, you got to mix that up. That don't come yet. You got to mix it up, turn it up, and cook it. Looking to make sure there's...
What temperature?
There we go. Okay. So as you can see, he's cutting up any of the bigger chunks. And I will be right back after he gets this cut up. Okay, we have let this sit for 45 minutes, and it is now time to separate the whey from the curd. And Daryl is going to pour it into a cheesecloth that is on a strainer. We have chosen not to keep the whey. You can reuse it to put on your plants or mix it in all different kinds of recipes.
Pull that. No, the cloth. Pull it in.
Oh. There we go. Had to help with the cloth because it was falling down into the... But yep, he's pouring off. You can see how good that looks. We've been looking at some recipes, and this one here is the one that we use for, that comes with the rennet that we bought, and the other cultures.
Yeah.
There you go. That's what that looks like. So now we will let it rest to form a ball in the bottom of the pan. And then we will see what happens after that. And we'll start the process of cheddaring. Okay, so we have, for the last 2 hours, we have been draining the whey off. We would come in and flip it over. This was a solid mass, and I've already started to break it apart because we needed to add some salt to it. If you're going to add salt to your cheese, this is the time to do it. So you take the cheese and you're going to break it up small as you can possibly with your hands, just to kind of incorporate that cheese or the salt into the cheese. And then once this is all done, you don't want really big pieces in there because it wouldn't distribute the salt in there nice and evenly. So you want to make sure that that is all in there nicely. And then once we are done getting the salt incorporated, we will put it in the press. But every 15 minutes for the last 2 hours, we have been draining off whatever whey was in the bottom of the pan. It first started out to probably be almost close to a cup. And then it dwindled down really slow to probably just a few teaspoons in there at the end. So once I get this all finished, it's almost there now. I will come back to the pressing part once we get going into putting it into the press. I'll see you in a few. Okay, so here we are. I broke up all the pieces into small pieces, pea size-ish. And he's putting it into cheesecloth that is into the press. This is the handy dandy press that Daryl made. And that will be pressing as much of the whey out of the curds as possible. And we will put it probably close to, I'd say 15 to 20 pounds of pressure the first time. And we'll do that for probably an hour or two to see how much whey we get out. But I mean, those curds are very, very dry. So we'll do that, and then we will, before we go to bed tonight, we'll flip it over one last time, and then we will put even heavier, like maybe 40 or 50 pounds, which we will have to figure out how we're going to do that. So we've got some weights and a few things here and there, maybe a few jugs of water to put in, or whatever we can do to get about 50 pounds. That's usually the going size. Now this is our first time making cheese, so you know it's kind of a little bit of trial and error at the moment. And tomorrow we're going to try to do mozzarella, and that should be a lot easier. We did this first because we knew it was going to take a little longer, and it is a hard cheese. And cheddar cheese has to be cheddared, which is what we did before when we were draining the water off, letting it set, draining the water off, or I should say the whey off, not the water, but the whey. And once you get the whey all drained out, then you, that's the cheddaring part. And now comes the pressing part. So he's putting both of the cheese presses inside of each other, getting every little bit out of there to try to get as much curds in those presses as possible, and covering it back up with the cheesecloth because you want a little barrier between that and the piece that pushes down. So here's this handy dandy press, and then he's going to put my lovely cake pan and then put the second one on. Now they have presses that are made that have a scale on them, and it tells you how many pounds of pressure you have. But really this is gonna work just as good. This will work just fine. So now all these wing nuts have to go down to where these washers are. And once they are down there, they will be what's applying the pressure. And in a few hours, we'll come back, we'll flip it over, drain the whey off, and then we'll come back and flip it over one more time before we go to bed. And we will leave it there until tomorrow morning when we get up. After coffee, of course. So, anyway, that's what this is for now. I'll be back after the first pressing.
Want me to hold that?
Nope. Okay, we are doing our first flip of the cheese. Wow. There's a little bit of suction in there. Oh, this is firming up very nicely.
So is this one.
Wow. See, we weren't sure because it's was kind of okay. So now this side is on the bottom. I'm going to flip this over, lay this back down in here, and now the part that was on the bottom, which is here where you got all these ridges, that's how you can tell that that's the bottom. And we're going to set that back down inside so that part is up, pressing it down, and then we're going to cover it back up with the cheesecloth, covering it nicely. to keep that covered, so I don't know how. Do you just tucked it in?
I just...
And then put it
Yep.
over here so you can see. And then push that on the top.
Yep.
And tuck that around. And now that one was on the top. And we are now going to put that on the bottom. Just, you know, just to even it out. Yeah, he says he doesn't think it's going to make a difference, but we're going to do it anyway.
I'll make a second press later.
Yeah. We'll make a second press later. Okay. Don't impale yourself.
Modify my homemade press later.
There. No, it works fine. It's just, you know, it's homemade.
I can improve it.
Yep. We'll improve it later on, but right now it's doing what it needs to do. It's working very nicely because you saw how nice and firm that was. While he is putting the weights on, I'm going to go grab a couple more weights to put on there. Oh no, we need to do it for an hour for that 20 pounds, right? We did 22 pounds. So after 1 hour for the final pressing that we'll do overnight, we will try to add 50 pounds at the end. But right now we're still going to do the 20-ish pounds for 1 hour. It's a little bit of hunky wonky, but it's working. He presses down on it, so he's got them going down.
Trying to get even weight.
Trying to get an even weight. Good enough. All right. Very good. Now we will come back in about an hour and we will flip it over again. Okay, we are doing our second flip.
Sorry, had to do that.
He's messing up my video, folks. Okay. Where is this? It's like, can't find the... There it is. Wow.
Was this one getting set overnight? Did you want new cheesecloth?
Yeah, we should probably use a new cheesecloth since these ones are setting overnight. And this one's starting to dry up. See, it's got the hard rind on there.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the underside. And you can see the hard rind. It's a different color. Starting to dry out, which is what we want. Doesn't seem to be any cracks. You can see a few wrinkles from the cheesecloth, but other than that, it looks fine. And this one here is the same way. It definitely is, this one doesn't seem to be as firm. I don't know what that is, but we'll get that out there. But yeah, you got the little cracks in there, but those are, I mean, it's not like all the way through, it's just surface, and that will go ahead and be pressed in once it starts to dry. But yeah, even this is starting to form a nice white crust, and this will be a very nice and dry cheese. All right. So now this is going to be overnight. So I'm placing it into the cheesecloth. And I'm going to bring it up and around And then I'm going to set it in there. I will.
Can I help you there? All you need is one
layer.
Where is it? Yeah,
it's right there. It was one layer.
That's it.
Yep. And then press that on there. But then we're just going to take this leftover material and push it down.
Just so it doesn't get all wet.
And flip over the sides from the one that was on the bottom is now on the top, and the one that was on the top is now on the bottom.
Now it is.
Well, now it is. Okay. Putting in our handy dandy tray to separate them.
I'll make a second one of these. It'll be easy.
Now this will be our last flip until tomorrow morning. And we are going to put on 50 pounds of pressure. It's going to be approximate because, of course, we don't really have a pressure scale. So we're just kind of winging it. But I think for our first try of making cheese, I think it's coming out the best, you know, that we can with.
I don't think you can have too much.
Yeah, I don't think you can have too much pressure. As long as you don't impale yourself, we'll be all good. So now he's going to put the weights back on top. That's 2 8-pounds.
We got 2 5 pounds.
2 5-pounds.
2 4 pounds.
Yeah, 2 4 pounds.
2 3 pounds.
And 2 3 pounds.
Plus, with the weight I put on it, it'll be probably more than 50.
I'm going to push these a little tighter. As he's pushing down, I'm going to twirl it down. I can get the other side so that
I got it.
Okay.
I'm guessing we got 50, 60 pounds on it.
Yep, that'll be good. And that will stay like that until tomorrow morning after coffee. And then we will take it apart. And what was the next step after that?
Dries on a rack for 2 weeks. You flip it twice a day.
2 weeks, drying on a rack, flipping it twice a day, room temperature. All right, well, that's it. And we will do some more filming in the process and take you along with us. And I will be filming the yogurt on Daryl's phone. So that video will be out not too far after this one. All right, take care. Have a good night.
This is just water.
Good morning. It is the next morning. It is about 9 o'clock in the morning, and we are getting ready to unveil the cheese. And this is the cheddar cheese. This is our first attempt, so we're not really sure exactly what is to be expected. Looks good. Looks very firm. It actually looks the same as it did yesterday. I don't see any cracks in it. It looks very formed. That's great. Oh, look at that, 2 on 1 spot. So now this has to air dry for like 4 to 5 days or so, give or take. and it could get a little greasy, and we just dab it. If mold gets on it, we just use a little bit of vinegar to kill the mold. But we'll be flipping it over every day. And that's it, really. That's all there is to it now, is just the aging process. And we'll see how that tastes. And, you know, hopefully we can remember to film, and we'll come back and see how it is. But yeah, that is 2 bricks of cheddar cheese getting ready to age. Those were the presses they were in. And this was the press that Daryl made. We have to do a little bit of adjustment on it, but it worked out fantastic. All right, so that's the end of this video. And we may come back later when it's time to try to see how it tastes. Thank you very much for watching. Like, subscribe, and hit that bell. Okay, this is Thursday morning, and we're going to have our first look at the cheese and we will flip it. We have flipped it every day, which we started this on Tuesday, and we did flip it yesterday, basically the first time. Daryl did all that. So now we're going to take a look and see how it looks. Okay. Now, still very soft. You can see from my finger indentations there. Yeah, it's still very, very soft. Now this one here seems a bit drier. I mean, it's dry around the end, and that's what you want. You want to get a nice little rind here. So I'm going to flip it over. Oh yeah, see, that's still very, I mean, it's very moist. So this has to dry. I mean, it's going to take a good week or so. But yeah, and we're just going to keep covering it to keep all the bugs and the dust. And yeah, just let it go like that. I'm looking for the table tents, like what you would use at picnics to keep flies and bugs off your tables. I had probably like 4 or 5 of them, but they disappeared out of nowhere. We may have used them at one time, and who knows where they are. I mean, we had a bin that was up in the attic. I mean, they could possibly be up there, but I'm not going up there to find out. But anyhow, this is the end right now of the cheese. I'm going to be finishing up this video. And, you know, from now it's just going to be flipping it, drying it to get this crust on the top. And then once it gets a nice crust, we will wrap it in the freezer bags, you know, the vacuum packed bags. We're going to vacuum seal it, and when we're done vacuum sealing it, we are going to put it in the bar fridge, which is about 50 degrees, 55 degrees Fahrenheit, and it'll stay there. And we will, you know, flip it from time to time. It won't need as much, but you need to give it like at least 2 months. I would say about 2 months to age, I guess the word would be, yeah, 2 months to age. And then once that's done, we will try it and see how it is. Now this is our first time, and we are not experts, so don't do what we did. And that'll be it for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you like this video and learned something. And like, subscribe, and hit that bell. And we appreciate any comments you have or any questions. Thank you very much, and you have a great day.